please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Well, Ajay Kumar Bhalla, the Power Secretary, has joined us now, and I hope this time the audio will not fail us. Mr. Bhalla, incidentally, today is the day when the Allahabad High Court reconvenes to hear the IPPI, the Independent Power Producers case. On June 2nd, the court had given some relief to the power producers and told Finance Ministry to meet RBI and sort out their problems. Would you know what the position of the Finance Ministry or the government may be today? Will they ask for more time, or, will there be some other position?
The court had said that you hear all the stakeholders, and Ministry of Finance authorized Secretary Department of Financial Services to do that, and he did that. He had a detailed meeting with all the stakeholders, including we were also present there, and both Independent Power Producers Association as well as Association of Power Producers made written submissions, and he gave them time for making additional written submissions also, which they have done. And we also made our stand known to them, and now he is preparing his final report, which will be presented to the court. I am not in a position to say whether he will be presenting it today or seeking some time.
Okay. Mr. Bhalla, good morning and thank you for speaking to us. I wanted your views on the recent announcement that came in from the government on taking over the stressed power assets by forming an asset management company like Structure. In your assessment, will there be any kind of fresh equity by the government into this structure? Will there be a lot of interest from foreign funds, and what could the timeline look like?
See, the part of this thing was already under discussion through the REC developed scheme called Parivartan, where it was proposed to put in the asset management company and then hold the assets for some time, look for the equity investors and all. Of course, the suggestion was to put the assets at the net book value, as it is difficult to determine the value upfront today, but that needed some concession from the RBI. So lenders are working on it together and looking at it whether they can put it in asset management company without much payment upfront and at the net book value at this stage.
You think that with this, the power companies will be saved from going into NCLT?
See, it is very difficult to say that because recently outside NCLT or within the present RBI circular also the lenders are looking at resolving some of the assets, and recently we have got bids for one particular asset, and another one bids have been invited, and I think this is the last date of 15th, and after that those bids will also be opened. See, bankers are trying their best to resolve whatever is possible within the RBI norms, within the present circular of RBI. And thereafter, if assets can be resolved, it will be done outside NCLT. Otherwise, if they can't resolve it within the time frame, or in case if there is any extension of time frame even within that, then perhaps assets will have to be, one has to look at these assets in the NCLT.
Okay, but Mr. Bhalla, in that context, one of the problems bedeviling at least about 15,000, 20,000 megawatts is the lack of a PPA. And therefore, the central government floated a PPA for about 2,500 megawatts, right? How is it that only 2,200 of megawatts were bid for?
Right.
I thought people were so hungry for PPAs that they will bid for 10,000.
See,
yeah.
No, let me tell you, as I had stated earlier, it's a pilot scheme which was drafted to see what could be the response, and we had made it little more favorable towards the DISCOMs so that they buy this power. Generators, and we had not assured any coal. Coal India would be providing coal. So we had worked it out, and I am happy with the response which has come. And about 1900 megawatt we will be able to tie up with the state governments at this price. You know, the price is fixed for 3 years. There is no escalation. So naturally a generator is a little worried about it. So these issues were raised before us, and we said, okay, let's quickly finish this round, and then we can go into an aggregation model also, which is provided under the Shakti policy as the next stage, to aggregate on behalf of the state governments and do bidding centrally.
Okay. We'll come to the demand as well in a bit, but I just wanted to finish this discussion on the AMC that will be formed. The centre is looking to rope in a lot of, PE firms, pensions, sovereign funds, financial institutions, etc. But I just wanted to understand, in these power assets, have we seen any kind of interest at all from foreign funds lately?
No, I mean, I won't say, directly lenders would know, but definitely some assets which are operational, which are working, which are running, and have certain issues of a tariff or a payment from discoms are definitely sought after assets, and I am sure there would be many takers for those assets.
Okay. Sir, now let me come to the other issue that perhaps is going to be staring the discoms in the face. Now, the Uday scheme had put in as a condition that by FY19, AT&C losses of discoms should come down to 15%. And the balance amount which they lose will not be paid for by the governments. Now, if that we are already at FY19 and there are so many discoms like in Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, which are all standing at 27–30% losses, what happens? These discoms will have to bear those losses. There will be no paying out of the money from the regulators, or the regulators ordering the governments to pay the money?
See, in any case, the regulators already ensure that some unnecessary losses are not passed on to the consumers. So these are the losses which generally are taken over by the state governments. Exactly that is what we have said in the Uday scheme, that you improve your efficiency, don't incur more losses than 15%, and if you are not able to reach that 15% point, then state government has to take over these losses and subsidize the discom accordingly, put it as a subsidy. So, this position was there earlier also. It's not that Uday also has reiterated that. So, intention is that the losses or inefficiencies should not be passed on to the consumers.
I agree, but
which would be ensured in the system. So, state government will have to ensure. Sorry.
No, I take your point, sir, that they should ensure that AT&C losses come down. But at the moment, what will happen is that discoms will not get that much money from the state governments. They will therefore delay payments to the power producers. So this actually increases immediately the stress on the power gencos, because their bills will be delayed, won't it?
Not necessarily. In some states we have been finding that there has been delay in payment of subsidies, but it is not a universal phenomena that the subsidies are not getting credited into the accounts of discoms. So we don't see that kind of problem. Many states have already agreed to take over losses, which will be incurred afresh till we reach the target of 15%. And Uday had already put up a trajectory that, okay, in first year you take over these many losses, second year these many. So, see, it brings in the involvement of the state governments to ensure that the losses are reduced over a period of time. So on an average, we have reached a level of 18.84% at the end of FY18.
So what is the absolute number at the moment? I mean, what are the annual losses that the discoms are seeing as of now? And how much of the loss has been brought down by due to the Uday scheme?
In March 16, if we look at the overall profit loss accounts, there was a loss of 50,000 crores, which at FY18 has come down to 19,000 crores. Okay. So there has been overall reduction. Of course, part of it has been because of the debt being taken over by the states. But it is showing a downward trajectory. And as I said, the overall losses on a national average basis has come down to 18.84%.
Okay. Sir, actually, I still want to come back to this issue of AT&C losses. Already, the Financial Express reports that 32,000 crore of dues to power gencos are due for over 60 days from the discoms. And further, they are expecting that the subsidy that they were getting because of their losses getting paid by the government amounted to 85,000 crore. Now, that's a lot of money, of subsidies. If it is not paid, then definitely subsidies. If it is not paid, then definitely the discoms will start reneging, isn't it? I mean, what I mean is in the next 2-3 quarters, it could be pain.
It could be. I mean, see, we have been regularly reviewing this issue with the state governments and the power secretaries. There's a regular monthly meeting where we review. One of the agenda is, besides Uday, is this payments. See, there are many outstanding payments from the government departments, especially the local bodies and all. So, I mean, some states have found some via media of deducting from their allocation and giving it directly to the discoms, which we are now pursuing with all the state governments, that the payment to discom by government department is must to ensure the health of whole power sector. And we are working on it, and we are expecting that it would show some results.
No, might you say that the Uday 15% target be shifted to the next year? Would something like that be in your radar?
We intend to reach Uday target by March 19, but as some of the states joined later, so the trajectory for them will be going beyond March 15, no doubt about March 19, no doubt about that. It depended on what stage. Some of the discoms have joined in 17 only, February, January 17.
Okay.
So naturally they will take little longer than others. So that is, I mean, expected that some of them will go beyond March 19 to achieve 15%.
But no question of you telling, okay, the power companies are telling us that they are genuinely worried that even the discom bills which are already overdue by 60 days, that number could just accumulate because the discoms will get lesser money from the state governments. Can you allay their fears?
It's a matter of major concern for all. It's a matter of major concern for all of us, and this is one point where our attention is fully involved. And we are trying to see at times the power secretaries of the states also have to look for finance department to release money to these people and then get this thing. So subsidies, as I said, leaving aside few states are all flowing regularly, but outstanding payment from the government department is still an issue in some of the bigger states, which we are working on and trying to ensure that some payments are released. Otherwise, I mean, as you rightly said, this whole impacts the whole power sector.
Okay, well, some of them are your same party as the central government, like for instance Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan. Hence my question. Also, I wanted to just reiterate, my colleague from Delhi has been SMSing us frantically saying that she has heard that the DFS, you know, the report we spoke about, the DFS is preparing his report to the Allahabad court, but it may take 5 to 7 days. Can you confirm that number? I mean, the report may not be ready today, but could be ready in 5 to 7 days?
I mean, it is possible. I haven't checked with my counterpart in Financial Services Department yesterday, but it is very much possible. I mean, court had not fixed any time for the report. They had said you must hear the people within June, which was done, and or not only hearing was done, they were given chance to give revised submissions also.
Okay. All right. Well, sir, now let's come to the other issues. What's your sense? Are you expecting at all the PPA scene to improve? Are you seeing any states even giving medium-term PPAs to, you know, provide some demand to the stressed power companies?
As of now, direct PPAs are not there. I mean, we don't have much demand available for as far as PPAs are concerned. But if we look at the growth, in the month of June, coal-based generation itself increased 7%. And we have been growing definitely at the average of 6.4% CAGR for last 4 years. That growth is definitely up. And on month on basis, at times, I mean, April, May, June this year, we have definitely ended up with higher generation and consumption of more coal. And so, I mean, it means that there is a demand which is on the up. We definitely is looking at increase this thing. And as under the Shakti policy, which is now has settled down, we need to look at what is the future. I mean, how the state governments will buy their future linkages and how it will be given. So there's that aggregation model I mentioned is there part of the Shakti scheme on which we are working. We have designated our agency, one of the PSU, for the aggregation purposes. And let's see if some of the states in medium term, which is a regular medium term model, not the pilot which we did where there is no escalation and all, will be placed before the state governments.
Okay.
And
What
if
about
we are
how
able to
much
gather
amount?
some, then we ourselves would be bringing out some of the bids.
How much amount are you looking at along with
Sorry?
escalation? Another 2,500?
Will be given to the generator and he supplies power. So it's a under Shakti, which after our pilot now we are on it, and as I mean definitely we have more demand from the states than this 2,500.
Mr. Bhalla, I must request you to repeat that statement. We had a technical hitch. So what exactly are you planning? What could we get? Another 10,000 megawatts of PPAs announced by the centre by aggregating the demand of the various states?
It could be. It would depend on the demand from the states. We have requested all the states to let us know. We'll aggregate that and announce it. But for this 2,500 also, we had more demand than what bids we have got.
Yeah.
My demand was definitely around 5,000 megawatt. But as I said, I mean, this was a pilot model. So now once we do a regular aggregation where the coal linkage is also visible and known, definitely there will be more participation as well as a stable demand. We expect in medium term definitely we'll be able to get some more PPAs.
So what about the issue as far as coal shortage is concerned? Because when we spoke to R.K. Singh, he did indicate to us that there is a shortage of coal for power plants in India. But just wanted to understand how long would it take for this situation to improve?
See, I'll tell you, I mean, there's not shortage in that sense. We are definitely, as I said, the power generation, coal-based generation has gone up. This time there was less hydro generation during the months of April, May and June. Now with the rains, things have improved. We have not been able to build the coal stocks in the plants. The coal stocks remains at about 15 days average, which is about 10 million tons as of now, which we need to carry to up to 30 million tons. You know, I mean, during monsoon, there are times there is some coal supplies disrupted and all. So we should have sufficient coal, especially in the faraway power stations which are located away from the pithead, to stock some coal. And, you know, just after at the end of month of August or September, the hydro power also generally goes down and the wind energy also reduces substantially. These 4 months we'll have high wind energy and all. So we should be prepared to deal with that situation. And the demand goes up September, October and all till the festival times and all. So demand goes up. So we are basically looking at the shortage should not happen and the sufficient stock should be built up in these power plants so that when other sources of energy reduce, we should be able to handle the demand.
But there were some issues like environmental clearances, etc., because of which this coal shortage was taking place as well. Have those issues been resolved?
Yes, I mean, we have discussed with the coal secretary yesterday also. I mean, they definitely have a very ambitious plan to meet our requirements. And coal secretary informed that there is no major issue on the environmental front. I mean, the issue which which I understand perhaps is that, and there is an annual capacity of the mine, and when production goes on full swing, sometimes that capacity reaches in February or so. Okay. So in the month of March, at times the mine declines to maintain the level of environment clearance. Okay. So it's not an issue which needs to be worried about.
Yeah.
Coal secretary has assured us that there is no such problem.
So you are giving us the biggest headline now, telling us that another tranche of probably 10,000 megawatts of PPAs could be put forward by the central government close on the heels of this 2,500 megawatts. And over there, you may even allow some cost escalation. This will be very big relief for power producers. I think there are at least 15,000 megawatts which are wasting away for want of PPAs. Can you give us a timeline and how will that be paid for? That will be their main concern.
Before we go there, let me say that another policy which we have been pushing, which has happened from earlier times, but is being used now, is the tolling policy, where some of the state plants located far away from the pithead can use their coal with some of these private plants and generate power, and instead of carrying coal all the way, they can carry power. It is a cheaper and efficient way of buying power. Already Gujarat and Maharashtra are doing it, and we held meetings with other states like Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan and Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
And I understand that all of them promised that this model they would also like to use, that they can use their coal. So there is likely to be some bidding on this methodology also, which can be relief to some of the stressed power plants.
Yeah.
And we, on the other front, we'll have to aggregate some of the demand from the states, so which will take at least another 15-20 days. And we would like to settle this 2,500 pilot first and then call for more demand.
Yeah, but how does the payment come for that? It will come from the states, or will the centre be able to arrange other kinds of payments? The whole problem is that those discoms don't have money.
It will come from the states. We had some issues in the tolling policy, which we have discussed with all the state governments, and we have resolved most of those issues. There were some payment issues and all.
No, not for the tolling, sir. Not for the tolling.
Which the tolling states have.
No, I don't mean for the tolling. For that fresh PPAs that you are planning
general
to
payment
float.
from the discoms.
You will get payment from the discoms. But they're running losses, sir. How will they pay?
Yeah. We expect.
Okay. You expect they will pay?
I mean, they are running losses, but then losses, as I have said earlier also, losses won't disappear overnight. Losses are coming down. See the balance sheets. The losses have come down to 18,000, 19,000 crores. So, I mean, it is a substantial change. Tariffs are getting revised regularly every year now. So, a cultural change has taken place, and then we are pushing metering in all these places. Okay. Have a billing efficiency system, have a prepaid meters and all. So all those things are, I mean, being also attended to simultaneously. Besides the policy changes. Infrastructure is being built right up to the last mile to help the discoms.
Oh, right. We live in hope, sir, that 10,000 megawatts is the biggest headline, and we are hoping that that PPA will also come. Thank you very much, Mr. Bhalla, for sparing time for us this morning. Well, from power companies to banks, they are the guys who are most waiting for the PPAs because their money is stuck. At the moment, we have with us an expert on the banking sector, the Macquarie banking expert. In fact, the Macquarie team met with the CEO of Edelweiss ARC and has an update on the kind of asset quality situation that Edelweiss sees after the bankruptcy law. The key message was that the worst is almost over in terms of NPA recognition. But let's get to the man himself, Suresh Ganapathy of Macquarie Capital with us. Suresh, before I ask you the key takeaways from your chat with Rasesh and team, I want to ask you, you were listening to the Power Secretary. Do you see, and then you know everything about the ARC and the AMC plan or whatever has been revealed, do you see any relief that some assets could go to the ARC and NPA burden could lighten at all?
No, Lada, if you look at even our meeting with the Edelweiss ARC CEO, very clearly the projects which are stuck up, which basically the incomplete projects where there is no promoter funding available, those are going to be completely written off assets. I don't think there is a proper solution to that. Even gas-based power projects have to be completely written off. It is only those projects which are completed, where there is PPAs which are partially signed, and those projects are the ones which perhaps possibly could be revived. But a substantial proportion of the power projects, you can expect a large amount of write-offs. If you look at it, already you have 40-50% NPAs in the power sector, right? So I think you can expect a large write-off in most of those assets.
So what numbers? I mean, you're looking at 2 lakh crore, and of that 1 lakh crore written off. Can you put some numbers to your statement?
No, we have not done any number analysis, but in Lata, you are right in that sense that 50-60% write-off is something which you can very well expect in some of these power assets.
And in terms of NPL recognition, Suresh, what are you expecting both in terms of the power assets, real estate assets, etc.? Do you think there could be a lot more NPLs recognized over the quarters to come?
Okay, so if you look at, Sonia, the total stressed assets position number, that is unlikely to change because most of these power assets are already shown in one form or the other as stress. For example, they may not be shown as NPLs, but they could be shown in the watch list of banks. So what could happen is there is going to be an inter-category transfer whereby you see these assets moving from watch list to NPLs. So you will see the headline NPL numbers moving up, but not necessarily the overall stress assets position. In other words, if you look at it, the total stress assets assets for banks in India would be about 18-19%, and I think that number remains flat. It's only that the NPL numbers will go up from the current 15% levels maybe to 16-17% levels over the course of next couple of quarters.
Okay, so let's come to your key takeaways from the Edelweiss meeting. What is the sense you get? How much of provisioning loss in FY19? Is FY20 from the word go a clean year, or does the pain extend through FY20 as well?
No, unlikely. So clearly the view is that FY19 will take bulk of the provisions because we are almost done with the recognition cycle, and of course provisions would have to catch up. And also note that, Lata, from FY20, as of now at least, IFRS implementation should begin. So what happens is, as a part of IFRS implementation, whatever is the pending provisions that you need to do, you can take it off directly through the reserves. So 1st April 2019, you will actually have a pretty clean balance sheet, to be honest, where you would have provided for most of your NPLs. And financial year 20 will actually show you a pretty clean picture of the P&L of banks. So 20 is likely to be a good year. Financial year 20, obviously a lot necessarily depends upon what is the election outcome, what is the sentiment in the market, and therefore what could be the growth in the system. But then nevertheless, FY20, you can expect some recovery in the P&L very clearly amongst all the banks in the system.
Okay, I wanted to ask you specifically on certain issues which took place in the last few weeks, Suresh, particularly on Shriram Transport. You know, those worries over the subsidies, NCD payments.
Yeah.
Of course, the group has said that they would honor the payments, but do you think that the company is out of the woods?
Okay, so Sonia, the real problem is not necessarily the amount of hit that the company is going to take. I mean, that's manageable. Even if Shriram Transport has to take the entire hit, post-tax impact is quite negligible on book value, not significant. The real problem is that of corporate governance now, mainly because of the fact that these things were not disclosed to the market, and this is not one particular instance. Obviously, this NCD issue happened. Before that, the IDFC bank merger was proposed, and before that, if you look at it, a couple of other things have happened, like for example the fiasco which happened with the construction equipment subsidiary. So all these events have really led to a de-rating of the stock, and that's where the challenge lies in, that for a re-rating to happen, very clearly the management and the promoters have to give confidence to the shareholders that, you know, things will be really put into order and such kind of corporate governance issues will not necessarily repeat going ahead. Okay.
Well, that's on Shriram Transport. I believe you have a neutral rating there. Let me come to this, come back to this Edelweiss chat. Therefore, you don't want to change your view on any of the public sector banks if genuinely the balance sheets are going to be clean, or would you just stick with ICICI Axis types?
See, Lata, the real problem there is that you need capital. That means you as a shareholder, you have very significant risk of an equity dilution over the course of next couple of years, right? The government will have to repeatedly infuse capital in them, and all these capital infusions will happen well below book value. So that risk is not taken away completely. The second aspect is the fact that, as I have been highlighting continuously, that the larger banks, the larger public sector banks will be made scapegoats. They will be forced to acquire some of the weaker public sector banks with 20-25% NPLs. And for a very long period of time, we actually thought SBI is going to be left unscathed about this, mainly because they are not going to be touched, having gone through the merger. But there were news reports saying that SBI may be forced to buy bad loans of IDBI Bank, which doesn't necessarily is helpful, right? So at the end of the day, who bears the write-off? If IDBI could easily take the write-offs, they could have done that.
But now
right?
LIC
so
has bought it.
To pass on the pain to a well-capitalized bank like SBI.
Now LIC has bought IDBI. So do you
LIC has infused capital in them. That's fine.
Will infuse, yeah.
No, it is not bought. It has got. Okay, so the way it has worked is LIC has, of course, infused capital. But then, what is going to be the long-term solution to these names? You know, you don't want them to be like IFCI, right? Today, IFCI has been an institution which is surviving on government doleouts for the last 40-30 years. Okay. Is IDBI going to be another IFCI, right? Okay. So,
no, I thought the cloud of consolidation hung over BOB, though Ravi Venkateshan emphatically denied to us that there is any such plan when he spoke with us. That doesn't clear the air for you.
But what is the solution to this problem? What is going to happen with... Yeah, Lata, but what is going to happen with banks like IOB and United Bank, Punjab and Sind Bank? What is the eventual solution for these names?
I don't have answers. I'm only asking you whether you're...
They have to be merged, right? There is no choice.
All right. Okay, fine. Let me just come back to the NBFC.
So my view is that eventually if... Yeah.
No, go ahead, please.
Sure. Eventually, these names have to be merged, is what I'm telling. That is the final solution. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, let me come back to the Edelweiss issue yet again. Would you prefer Axis, ICICI? Yes. What is your pecking order?
Well, my pecking order, my first topic is HDFC Bank, followed by that I like ICICI and yes. The advantage with ICICI, as we have been pointing, is it's pretty well capitalized, valuations are pretty comfortable. Yes, there are some issues surrounding who is going to be the eventual CEO and stuff, and that will take time, but then at least fundamentals are strong. So to that extent, I'm okay with ICICI, and we also like Yes Bank for similar reasons, that the fundamentals are strong, ROEs are good, it requires capital, but there are some near-term catalysts which we believe could play out over the course of next 6 months. We do believe that the CEO will likely get an extension, and next time around the divergences are also going to be brought to a minimum. So that would really help in re-rating of the stock.
Okay, two more stocks actually that have hit new highs today, RBL Bank and Bandhan Bank. Just wanted your thoughts on them. Any further up moves you expect?
Well, clearly valuations are pretty high for both of them, to be very honest. I mean, Bandhan is a pretty good company, pretty good power of compounding, but at these valuations it becomes very difficult to justify buying it. And RBL, I've always been of the view that for the kind of ROAs and ROEs that it generates, the valuations are too high. I mean, you cannot really play these names by paying them such high obscene multiples. Really, the margin of safety is pretty low when you are getting into the stocks at these multiples.
All right. Okay, Suresh, thank you very much for joining us and giving us your take on the banking space and the non-banking space as well. We look forward to speaking with you very soon. Well, for the moment, let's shift focus back to the markets, and they have, built on the early morning gains, and now 0.5%, no matter which index you pick. Ashwini Gujral, Mitesh Thakkar, and Rajat Bose with us. Ashwini, is it time to take profit on the Nifty, or do you think that you should still hold on to the long positions of early morning?
Early morning trade is done, and that is probably the only intraday trade for the day, because often when you have one trending day, the next day is sometimes sideways. So chances are market goes a bit sideways here, because it's not like everybody is buying. The Bank Nifty is at a 50-point discount. Nifty is at almost 1-2 point premium. So there isn't that sort of great bullishness at 900, 910. There is a bit of selling. So if you are carrying for the last couple of days or yesterday, that way you can carry. But otherwise, now the market should probably move a little sideways. Having said that, I think HDFC Bank is beginning a new leg on the upside. That's a buy with a stop of 21.25, target of 2175. RIL is a buy with a stop of 996, target of 1030, and Mindtree is a buy with a stop of 1030, target of 1075. The larger stocks are kind of outperforming the mid caps, so maybe staying with the large stocks is a bit better.
Okay, staying with larger stocks is better. Mitesh Thakkar and Rajat Bose are also with us. Mitesh, what stocks would you have on your radar today?
Yeah, as I mentioned early in the morning, DLF is a buy. I think it's moved up slightly, but around 191, 191.5 would be a good buy with a stop at 180, 186, and look for targets of around 200 there. And Marico is a buy as well with a stop at 344 and look for targets of 365.
Okay, thanks for that, Mitesh. Rajat, good morning to you. What would you be trading?
I have three stocks in the future segment, and all three are a buy, because I tend to think that the Nifty might scale up to 10,929 to about 10,935 before any serious reaction sets in. So NID Tech, I would put a stop below 1115, in the July futures, and 1144 and 1149 are the two targets for NID take. Maruti July futures, I would put a stop below 9410 and the target would be 9525. I believe that Maruti's momentum to continue at least to scale up to 9500 plus levels. And finally, Raymond, which is recovering from low levels, already showing great momentum in today's session. I would still retain the stop loss of 920, but I would revise the targets. 945 and 952 had been the targets given, but you can even expect 957 to 960 on the upside.
Okay.